okay. I think people can probably hear us too.
Yep.
Is the problem. So,
So we will be starting in 12 minutes, but we're just
okay.
getting the stream ready.
Sounds good.
I see Alexander, James, Mark Laszlo, and our friend Antonello.
Hi, thanks everyone who's joined so far. We'll be starting in 5 minutes. Thanks for joining, everybody. We'll be starting in 2 minutes. All right, let's get started. Thanks for joining. Let me turn my camera on here for a minute so we can see each other. I'm Jim from Facilis Technology. I'm here to talk about the latest advancements, including but not limited to FastCache. Here's an agenda. Facilis has been building shared storage solutions for post-production and content creation in all forms since 2003. We've been blessed to work with great customers, resellers, and representatives all over the world and have been the focal point of rich media workflows for thousands of facilities. Today, we'll be covering Hub version 8.3, our latest release of Facilis software-defined shared storage systems, and then we'll talk about FastTracker 381, Facilis' own asset management system, WAN-Link, our remote server access feature, and of course, FastCache, client-side caching. Ask questions anytime during the webinar. We'll collect them and answer as many as we can at the end. Facilis has developed a software ecosystem around the Hub product line. It includes some unique features that are worth mentioning. Virtual drive set eliminates degradation that occurs when spinning hard drives start to get full. DynaRAID is a multi-drive RAID 6 data protection with up to 4 drive failure tolerance, defined by volume for ultimate configurability. Also, low-level I/O balance for tuning facilities that need extra performance on constant read or write loads. With 15 years of development, the Facilis shared file system is the basis for most of the features you'll see here, but the list starts with the major performance advantages over SMB network shares, which results in a massive top-end speed of 5 gigabytes per second to Mac workstations over a single Ethernet link. Bandwidth prioritization can be set for each workstation to avoid degradation due to network bottlenecks. And Facilis is still delivering new systems in 2025 with fiber channel connectivity, which is especially performant on Windows workstations. Smart Access Rules is a policy engine, but don't let that scare you. It's designed to be configured and used by non-IT people. With this feature, you can control the read and write access of files and folders, add delete restrictions on certain critical file types, set up recycle bin, user auditing, ingest workflows that are so secure, the newly ingested files are restricted almost immediately. Object Cloud and Object LTO are the most simple way to incorporate backup and archive into a shared storage system with drag and drop file and folder backup and restore to cloud and LTO locations that exist in the same folder structure. We sell this turnkey with Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage and Qualstar LTO libraries, or bring your own cloud storage and LTO and we'll help you configure it. We'll talk more about FastTracker in a moment, but this software is built to be a quick start into real asset management with user-based catalogs and rich search capability, proxy generation and automation, Google auto tagging, and even free on-premises transcription. WAN-Link is a proprietary method of connecting to Facilis servers while in remote locations. Used by hundreds of Facilis customers, it requires no VPN, has the same user account and access control features as on-prem workstations, and industry standard encryption, using a special workstation UID authorization for safety. Finally, the reason you're here. FastCache is a partial file client-side caching system that creates secure and obfuscated cache data that can't be read without the Facilis software and proper volume mounted to the workstation. We'll get deeper into that feature shortly. So, FastTracker, asset management is more available than ever and more confusing than ever. It used to be enough to make proxies and tag with metadata. Now the basic feature set must include AI analysis, application integrations, searchable archive databases. I'm here to tell you that you can have both, simple and feature-rich. So, meet FastTracker, the man that will make you look good. After all, asset management is for solving problems. If you're interested in technology that looks cool, doesn't help your day-to-day workflow, be ready for your creative talent to rebel against this new tool that creates them more work. With that, here are the top 10 asset management problems in post facilities as compiled by our internal industry experts. Number 10, you already have proxies with the camera raw, but you need to attach them in Adobe before you can use them in the timeline. This takes up time in the edit suite. Number 9, you need to clear space on the server, and the best way to do this is to find files that have multiple copies. And how do you find those? Number 8, your backup system either relies on a person or relies on automation that's difficult to configure for each new project. Number 7, you need transcriptions to send to your producers, and the only way to automate that is by using a paid service. Number 6, when files are moved or renamed, they go offline, and then how do you find them? Number 5, you have an archive, but who knows what's on it? Once it hits the archive system, you have to bring it all back to search through it. Number 4, you have remote people who want to see the daily footage, but uploading a few hundred gigs to Google Drive will take some time. Number 3, you create proxies for long-form edits on a valuable workstation that could be billing edit hours. Number 2, you have people sitting in your facility that want to see the shoot in their laptops, but you'll have to give them access to the storage system to do that. And number 1, you can't find files by searching the content of the images. You know there's a shot of the Golden Gate Bridge somewhere in this folder, but the names are no help, so start scrubbing everything. Now, I'm not going to cover all the features of FastTracker today. That would be impossible. I'm just going to say that it solves every one of these problems with automated proxy generation and attachment, transcription and archive tracking, duplicate and lost file locating, and web browser access. FastTracker is included in the basic support contract for any Facilis Hub server. The newest version is 3.8.1, which now includes Avid native DNX proxy generation, RED and BRAW compatibility, timecode-based markers, and new keyboard shortcuts for logging and tagging workflows. Version 3.8.2 in development now includes our new DaVinci Resolve panel and enhanced analysis through model-based Vertex AI. Look for that to release before NAB. On to WAN link. WAN link is wide area network direct server access from any workstation in the world. If that sounds scary, let's talk about the protections we've put in place. Communications, referred to as control mode and mount mode, are all encrypted. All information passed between server and client is secure. The user workstation, once we accept the encrypted request, needs to be authorized by the administrator. The workstation has a unique ID that can't be replicated by any other workstation in the world. Once authorized, the user's login account will determine the storage volumes available. That's two-factor authentication, workstation authorized and account permissions. The result is a direct connection to the server over the internet with speeds only limited by your upload and download link. So your question may be, what's the internet speed requirement? Well, that depends on your workflow. With a proxy workflow, especially in an H.264 proxy, you can have a slow connection and still stream successfully. The geographical latency, which is just the distance the request has to travel, will limit the application capability when it comes to video bit rates. Here's a rough estimate of what you can expect from various internet download speeds in our experience. I can get 145 megabit video to stream well on my desktop at home. Some of our customers have been successful with up to 220 megabit. But let's take a look at the desktop and see how WAN link really works. If you have a Facilis Hub system, you'll be familiar with the client console. The remote clients over WAN link use the same interface and the same user accounts. I add the server address in the settings, and the available server shows up in the Servers tab. If I've been previously authorized for use with this server, the volumes show up based on my user account. When I mount the volume, I see the public IP address of my facility, which for me is about 20 miles away. On this Mac Mini, connected through WAN link, I'll bring up Premiere Pro here. for example. Not that right now. On this system, I have 4 media sets: ProRes HT and an LT bitrate, ProRes UHD LT, UHD 444, which we'll get to later, and UHD proxy. These range between 45 megabits and 1.3 gigabits per second. We'll be looking at the ones that go up to about 410 megabits. So I'll open up my WAN link sequence here and I'll just start playing. So that's the 45 megabit HD ProRes LT. Plays with no problem. As you can see, it already buffered everything and has no problems here. I'm pulling at about 15 or 20 megabytes per second. Once it gets to the higher end stuff, this is the proxy UHD, excuse me, UHD. You can see it's pulling between 25 and 30 megabytes per second from my server, which again is about 20 miles away through the internet. You see now it's buffering up to go to the higher bit rate, which is a 410 megabit. And let's see how far it gets here. I don't expect this to work for very long, but if it pre-reads enough, it might get a little bit ways into it, and it looks like it has. So it's playing that all real time as well. Now, none of these things, even if it plays all the way through like it just did, that's no guarantee for you. So for our customers, we have developed methods of helping them get to the proxy resolution that's going to be required for their particular need, for their particular internet bandwidth for the folks they have at home. So as you can see, streaming directly over internet, the WAN link connection is solid and fast. You might be wondering why every storage system can't do this. Well, simply, NAS systems require that you're part of a network to see the shares. That requires an encryption tunnel to keep your data safe while transmitting. That causes latency. Facilis shared file system doesn't have that requirement as long as you have the right encryption and credentials. Streaming directly from your on-prem storage with enough speed for 4K proxies, right? What could get any better? Oh yeah, that's why we're here, FastCache. So let's start to go over FastCache a little bit. In content creation, you access the same files repeatedly, whether it's during rough cut, color grading, screening, or output. These are files that already have been read, maybe multiple times. By caching that data, we eliminate the need for continuously accessing the server through your network or through the internet. FastCache can use an internal or external NVMe or SSD. We recommend against using hard drives because of partial file caching and the risk of fragmentation. Facilis offers pre-initialized cache drives in 1, 2, and 4 terabyte sizes from SanDisk, and we're even giving one away today to a lucky customer, so stay tuned. You may require why client-side cache, you may wonder why client-side cache is better than server-side cache. Well, the benefit of server-side cache is that it's shared. Simple. Important data is cached only once and then available for everyone. However, is it the right data for you? And will your cache data be pushed out in favor of other people's projects? Client-side cache is dedicated to your workstation, so your cache data is always ready to go. In addition, it does things like improve access speed. You have faster access to the files that you've cached or that have been cached. The fastest server-side cache won't help you if you have a slow network connection. Then there's the benefit of lower overall network load, which can avoid the bottlenecks seen in many older networks. It also lowers the server load, so you can add more clients and higher bit rates without overwhelming your server. Also, you can increase the cache at any time on the client workstations. So hundreds of terabytes of cache can be deployed across the facility, which would be very cost ineffective to do on a flash caching server. So whether you're connected to the server via 10 gig, 1 gig, or through the internet at 10 megabits, FastCache will speed up your access to commonly used files. What would be the benefit of FastCache in this work group? Obviously, the WAN link clients, the first ones I pick out there through the internet. But what about the color grading clients? Use the FastCache drive as the resolve render cache. And those background renders will be cached to SSD as they're written to the server. Even the audio workstations can offload some of their high IOPS requirements to local NVMe. Audio projects are small, but they can put a lot of pressure on spinning drive set. Because FastCache is invisible to the system users, it can only benefit the workgroup. No other on-premises shared storage solution offers invisible, non-volatile, partial file client-side caching. That's a lot of tech speak, so let's unwrap that for a minute. FastCache works at a low level, so any application that runs on your workstation has the advantage of using cached data simply by accessing files from mounted volumes. FastCache is also persistent through network disconnects and system reboots. And you can even create cache data in one location and move it to another workstation. Caching partial files is very efficient. Instead of the hour-long source file, you only need to cache the 2 minutes in the timeline. Partial file caching is efficient when caching on the fly, but some people want to get all their needed files cached before they start, especially if they're working with high bitrate files that may have some trouble playing in real time. So there are many workflows that are enabled with FastCache, but there are 3 basic ones. Pre-cache, or bulk reading files to get everything cached prior to working. Caching on the fly, where partial file workflow kicks in. It basically is just caching everything as you're accessing it and consuming it from your workstation. And caching locally to take remote. In the third example, a user could be working all day on premises with caching active. And as soon as they go home, everything would be high speed. Kind of a pre-cache on the fly combination of the first two. This also brings up another question. How do we keep files in sync with the server? Well, look at it this way. If an application reads a file, we put that data into cache. The cache data is read as long as the file on the server has not changed. If the file changes, the new data is read from the changed file and saved to cache. In this way, we are always in sync with the server as long as the files are being accessed. Now, keep in mind that in order to read any cache data, the source volume has to be mounted and files must be available. If the user is locked out of the volume or the folder that was previously cached, the cache data is unavailable as well. So let's look at the real thing. Going back to my Mac. Now we're going to look at the FastCache options. I'll get rid of this for just a minute here. Now, I have a cache drive in the system, but you can't see it. When you purchase a cache drive from Facilis, it's initialized as a raw partition. So basically the cache data is written to a location that doesn't exist on the Mac Finder or Windows Explorer. And that's for safety. You don't want to accidentally delete a cache file. You don't necessarily want to use the cache drives for other things, although you can. Because if you have your own, like for example, I have this SSD drive here. I'll just mount this to the desktop. And if I go into my initialized cache here in my settings, you'll see that that shows up here as a location. It gives me the size, maximum size of the cache that I can have on that SSD, and I can initialize that if I want to for use as a cache. So any SSD or NVMe drive that you have can be used for this. Let me just get rid of that again. So in the FastCache settings here, I have cache over internet, which is useful for me at home. I have always cache, which is if I'm at work and I want to be caching while I'm over the local area network, or I have never cache, which just means I don't need to cache this volume. It's all H.264 MP4s. I play it fine over WAN link. I don't need to cache anything. So that's fine. Cache over internet, I'll leave it there. Those same settings are available for servers, and they're available for volumes as well. I can use cache mode on a server basis, and I can use cache mode on a volume basis. As you see here, the 2 volumes I had mounted previously are not being cached. I can tell because it has no caching in the status. When it's cached, you have a C. When it's just mounted secure encrypted, you have an S. So I'm going to go and just change the setting here for the FastCache demo volume and change this from never cache to cache over internet. And since it knows that I'm over the internet, it sees the IP address as a public IP address where it's coming from. If I unmount and remount this volume, I'll get CS instead of S. It's now caching. It's caching to the invisible NVMe that I have attached over Thunderbolt 3 to my little Mac Mini. So now, let's go back to Premiere. And I'll close this up and I'll go to my FastCache demo. So I know this is footage that I imported from my FastCache demo volume. And so I'll just bring this up here. So here, I'll see pretty much the same thing. I'll go to play it down. It's going to play normally because it's just playing over WAN link, and I have enough speed to handle this particular, 7 to 8 megabytes per second in 45 megabit, which is the HD LT version. Let me speed this up a little bit here. This is the ProRes proxy. It's coming in, it's actually spiking way up to 40 or 50 megabytes a second, probably because it knows the next one is coming up, which is the LT. But that's playing down just fine. But you'll see also what's happening here is while I'm playing this, if I go to disk, I'm actually caching. The disk is being written at the same time. So if I do drop any frames here, we'll see some cool things happening where if I go back in that file and play it again, it's not playing off network anymore. It's now playing off my local cache drive. So let's see if we can, again, amazingly get through this 410 megabit from my Mac Mini at home over the internet. Suspense is killing me. It looks like it's going to go all the way through. So I'm still reading off the network at 30 or 40 meg. Oh, there it goes. I got some drop frames. That's what I was hoping for. So I've dropped some frames there. So let's go back and play that again. And it got through. And it might get through the rest now. So that is basically what FastCache does. When you have a problem playing something, play it again, and it'll be fine. Now we're getting into the 1.3 gigabit per second. Well, I cheated a little bit. This is pre-cached. Like I'd recommend to anybody who is playing this sort of a high bit rate from home, pre-cache it through one of the methods that we have. And so methods of pre-caching include a couple different things. Let me go into my migration tool. The first version of FastCache, which is available now and was available since last fall, we use migration, the verify option in migration. You simply highlight a volume or a folder or a location, you hit verify, it reads everything. Doesn't copy it, just reads it. And by virtue of reading it, now it has full access to the cache. So the other way to do it, which is brand new, is our FastCache tool. Let me just get rid of this here so we can see that. This is yet to be shipped. It's in development right now, but this is the FastCache tool. I create projects for different volumes and folders and items that I need to keep cached. I can set it up with, it tells me how much is cached and what the size of each thing is. You can see those columns aren't quite working yet, but this is the general idea. This is a method by which to enable caching that can happen continuously, enable caching that can happen manually in a very easy way, and will happen in the background as well. And we'll also tell you what is cached in the server on the volume and what is not. So if you need to cache more data for the job coming up, you can easily do that and get that ready to work. Okay, so as you saw, now that I've gone through the caching method once, and I go back to That's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted either. I go back to activity monitor. You'll see that nothing is coming from the network. Only thing I'm doing is sending data because I'm on a VNC. Nothing is being read from the network at all. It's all being read from disk. So that's the beauty of it. Now, it doesn't mean that I can disconnect from the network, disconnect from the internet and walk away. Because once again, cache is only used when it sees the volume and sees the files that you have access to that it has previously cached. That's a security feature, because if you remove the volume access or folder access control through our access rules, the read access needs to be there in order for the cache to work. So you can easily set up permissions for different people, take them off the job, deauthorize them, and that'll be fine. So let's move on a little bit here. Let's go back to my prezo real quick and we'll finish up. I wanted to let you know about some promos, and the promos that we are talking about is FastCache Get Started promo. With every server that we sell, we're going to send out a FastCache drive and help you configure at least one client to work with that, because we want to be able to, oops, sorry about that. I'm not really sure what happened. All right, I'll just keep going then. My presentation ended. I have no idea. We have that promo going on. We also have a promo for Avid trade-in. We have a larger Avid trade-in discounts and trade-in credits now. And I want to start taking any questions you may have at this point. I think Kelly's been assembling some questions for me, so why don't we go ahead and do that now. And Kelly, are you giving me the questions at some point?
Yes, it's in the chat feature that you requested before.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Can I run this with my 8.3 clients and the server running 8.2.6? Yeah, you can. The 8.3 client is all you need. This is all client-side functionality. So that's no problem there. LDAP integration into Fast Tracker, that is, we're calling it version 5 because it's the next major release, but it's probably going to be version 3.9 or something like that. That's all going to be included. We're merging Fast Tracker in with the LDAP and Active Directory integration of console, all the same user accounts. Another one is, do users require a seat for Fast Tracker? And if so, how many seats come? Fast Tracker is unlimited. There is no limitation on seats, and there's no charge for individual seats. Fast Tracker does have a Premiere Pro extension panel. In fact, it's right here. And I can log in and see all of my footage here. It's usually undock this to give yourself some more room, but you get the general idea. So Fast Tracker panel is there. And we have new features for 3.8.1 in the panel as well. And we'll be, of course, doing the Resolve panel coming up in the next release. What's the highest codec bitrate you guys have tried? Well, I mean, 410 megabits is pretty good. And I just was able to play that back. As long as there's a good amount of pre-read in the application and you have a decent, I can pull at 40 or 50 megabytes a second from my 1 gigabit home internet connection from the server. So that's pretty good. Would never recommend a workflow built around that though. Will the same playback demo work with the player quality set to full? Well, I have an older Mac Mini, so I wouldn't know that from here. That's going to be based more upon your CPU and your resources on the platform than it is based on getting the data. So with a quarter res, you're still pulling in all the data and then you're deciding how much of it to display. So there's no difference there. Will you be going over the FastCache installation setup process today? No, I'm sorry. We do have a FastCache video on YouTube. Sorry, we do a WAN link video on YouTube. FastCache is pretty much what I've said. If you load the volume up, load the drive up, and initialize, or if it comes from us and you simply plug it in, and as long as you have FastCache enabled, it's going to start working. So it's actually extremely simple to set up. A couple of these more I want to get to. Some of these are a little complex, so I'm just going to pick and choose a couple of them here. Is there a way to script a pre-cache with the FastCache tool? Yes, that's the plan, is we'll be able to set up a continuous pre-cache, which is going to mean that it just checks every once in a while to see if it needs to be cached. Any new files that haven't been cached yet will be cached. So that is a scripted pre-cache. We've come to the end of our time. If you'd like to stay on, that's fine, and I'll answer some more questions. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining, and I do appreciate it. Any other questions you have, please let us know, sales@facilis.com. Cache management from the client side. Is the cache drive encrypted? The cache drive is obfuscated. So there's no encryption in the cache drive, but the cache drive itself is not, there's no video files in the cache drive. There's no file base, there's no file system or bitmap. So it's very difficult to get any new information out of, or any information at all, because it's in a obfuscated sort of zeros and ones format. Is it Jim on the surfboard? No, thank you. I wish. I didn't even look that, wasn't even that good at surfing when I was a teenager. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate your time. Once again, everyone who was able to stick all the way through, thank you very much. We appreciate your time, and have a great week. Thanks.